Tell me the story,
Yes,
please.
there is a prayer labyrinth on the grounds where the Blue Lake Christian Writers Conference takes place, and I saw a piece of paper about it. I didn't know what it was, but the Holy Spirit told me, whispered in my ear, pick up that piece of paper and take it home, and I did. That particular prayer labyrinth has 4 paths: the path of silence, the path of memory, the path of prayer, and then the path of questioning. And long story short, after I came home, I began to research prayer labyrinths, and then I began to research silence. I began to research memory. And of course, prayer is something I've just been naturally researching my whole Christian life. But when I got to the path of questioning, I thought, the questions I think should come before the prayer. I think prayer should finish it off. And so I switched those two, and the third path became the path of questioning. I thought that this was my questions, the questions I have for God. But God very quickly let me know that these were his questions. And of course, my question to him was, what questions?
Right.
You know everything. You're omniscient. How can you have questions? And as soon as I was journaling all this, as soon as I journaled it, I heard, where are you? What is this thing you have done? Where did you come from, and where are you going? What can I do for you? What do you want me to do for you? Do you want to be well?
I see where you're going here.
The questions started pouring out, all these questions that God asked in the Bible. And I realized that God has been asking man questions forever.
Yeah. Eva Marie Everson joining us today here on the Meeting House on Faith Radio, the author of the book, The Third Path, Finding Intimacy with God on the Path of Questioning. And you talked about going to what's called a prayer labyrinth at the Blue Lake Retreat Center, where the Blue Lake Christian Writers Conference is held year after year. Put a plug in for Blue Lake. Marilyn Turk does a tremendous job of organizing this. Always has tremendous faculty members that come in and encourage authors and provide inspiration. And you've been a faculty member on multiple occasions. One of those occasions, you went out to the prayer labyrinth. Someone might call this a maze.
Well,
it is kind of amazing, but anyway, so
what is the difference?
What is a prayer labyrinth for those who may not be familiar with the concept?
So I think we're all familiar with a maze because we probably played those little games as children where you have to, in the Highlights magazine, you had to try to get all the way through, but then you would hit a wall and you'd have to turn around and come back.
Kind of like a corn maze in the fall.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so that is a maze. A maze is designed to confuse you and to confound you. But a labyrinth is one way in and one way out. And it circles around until it gets to the center, and then it comes back out again. So it is not designed to confuse or to confound. It's designed to bring you closer. And it's designed to bring you closer to God, so that when you reach the center, there's typically a bench or something like that, and you can sit. And like if you were walking the one at Blue Lake, you take that first loop, and that's the path of silence. That's where you draw quiet. And then the second loop is the memory. And this is, for me, this is when I talk to God about whatever's going on in my day to day. And then the third is the path of questioning. And this is when I would look at a question. And again, I was doing all of this in a journal. I did go and actually walk the labyrinth at Blue Lake, but I did all this in a journal. And this is when I would look at a question and I would begin to study it. One of the questions that God asked in the Bible, and I would study it, and I would underline key words, and then I would turn the question back on myself. And sometimes it would take a long time to answer some of those questions because they're not meant to be answered simply. They're meant to be answered in a way that draws you to a more intimate relationship with God. That's what questions are all about. When we say, how are you? Or who are you? Or what is it? Like if you get on a plane. So what is your name? And what do you do for a living? And that kind of thing. Those questions are designed to get to know you, right? Well, that's the same way it is with God. It's for him to get to know us, for us to get to know him.